we need to learn that we are energy electrical bodies before we are mechanical, before we are chemical.
Hi, everyone. Welcome Deidre Freer. She helps stressed out parents and teachers. She's a fascial maneuver coach, and that's how we met. And I'm so honored to have you here. This is my first marketelling call back with Flow Network Emerging. And what you're doing was like a seed of an intention that I held with my business partners when we first created Flow Network. So it feels really synchronistic to me that you're here today. And you just shared a synchronicity with me before we jumped on the call and recorded that I'd love for you to share as well.
Yes. My business partner and I, Jenna is her name, and she's a Pisces, and today is the Pisces
Yeah.
new moon.
Yes, thank you for
And we
mentioning that.
are this close to launching not just this section of it is the Human Garage Fascial Maneuvers that we volunteered and facilitated for almost 3 years. We did weekly calls for a really long time. And
Wow.
we supported a lot of moms, and they needed something that was real and foundational to all the other things that they were doing for their kids. And so that is one section of our new parents program that we are ready to launch. So today was the day that we wanted to at least put it out on social media that it's coming, get some emails that are eager and ready to see it. We've done a lot of clarity calls where the people are like waiting for us to drop it. We've had all these videos in separate sections and areas, but we're ready to like really open it up today. So this
Wow.
is perfect that we just picked a day and
Yeah, and it
in
happens to
alignment.
be on a new moon, and we're talking about planting seeds and amazing. Well, I know a little bit about you just through our coaches call and that kind of thing, but this is literally the first time we're getting to know each other. So before we get into the program, which I'm excited to learn more about, I want to just know your story and what led you personally to care about emotional regulation with parents and teachers regarding schools.
Yeah. Mine is still a journey. Even sitting right here, I feel the cranium shifting and changing because I lived 30
Mm,
years with a chronic headache. It never went away.
wow.
And
Wow.
most of the time it was spiking to what I would call like migraine level for
Mm,
most people, but that was almost a daily thing for me. And so in order to live your life, I did the whole route of there was other things involved like endometriosis, chronic pain up here, muscle tension, neck tension.
mm,
They diagnosed me with TMJ just after it started in my early teens. They put me in a lot of mouthpieces thinking they were doing the right thing to fix my bite, and really what happened was it made everything worse and compounded and compressed. And so there was a
wow.
lot of pressure in my head. Went through 2 marriages, birthed twice, all with this chronic headache the whole time in the body
Oh
and a
my
lot of pressure. And of course, I didn't understand it then. I thought it was
God.
muscle tension. And 8 years ago, I switched to Eastern medicine and the layers started coming off. I was able to get off of a lot of pharmaceuticals that was actually causing me more damage than
Mm,
fixing any root causes. They were just, you know, keeping the symptoms at bay.
right.
I had to reverse a lot of gut health because of the heavy medications that I had been on for pain and some other things, right? There's always different avenues of those issues.
Wow.
And about 5 years after that, I started working with sacred body language, physical symptom translations, like understanding that anger is stored in the liver and gallbladder is resentment. And where did that start? And how does that play a role in the body holding this tension?
Mm,
So there's the emotional, energetic aspect of it that I started learning, and that started kind of bringing some layers. And I could be like, oh, look, I can push. It's not a steel rod anymore.
mm,
I can grab here now where I would have never been able to do that.
wow.
And then came in acupuncture, traditional Chinese medicine, and then eventually the human garage fascial maneuvers, which brought it all together. And the deliciousness of my body receiving the minerals,
Mm,
hydration that it needed for everything that I was doing, all these different modalities that I could tell were helping shift things how many times I've said, I'm just so close. Like, I feel like I'm getting another layer. Um, so the headache started before I turned 16, like 14, 15
Oh my
range.
gosh.
And last year, I was, so I would have been 47 last year, last summer. And that was the first time I remembered what it felt like to not be in pain for actually it started off a couple hours in the morning and then it'd go
Wow.
extend to a couple days and different things like that. And even now, um, there's another human garage coach 2 hours from me and
Mm,
drive to her in St. Louis and I'll work on her. She's a chiropractor, cranial sacral therapist. I think it's amazing that me, a 24-year education teacher from the public school, is working on a chiropractor, but then
wow.
she works on me and just the ability for her to do the fascial maneuvers alongside some other modalities. And like my little cranium is still opening up, the pressure is still expanding.
Mm,
But what this has given me in education, because now I'm a pre-K special ed teacher.
okay.
So, really into that intervention specialist kind of role is understanding like I had a little boy last year that was just self-injuring and would bang his head against
Mm,
anything hard whenever he wasn't getting what he wanted. Little bit of a behavior in there, but it was still like that was how he knew to regulate his system. But deep down, it's just pressure in the body. And I was
mm,
really able to talk with the parents and ask them if, a lot of times in their special ed plans, we can use pressure as a sensory input output thing. So, how, in the very basic of
mm.
way of using fascial maneuvers, could I start to release the pressure in this child's body? And a year later, so that would have been this year, he was upset. He had to come out to the hallway and work with me and the speech teacher. And she said, "Oh, we need to find a way to calm down," which is one of his goals. Like, what choice did he want? And he said, leg bones. And he
Oh,
took his hands on his knees, which we call it the knee torque. And
wow.
he has pushed my because I would have him sit in my lap, and he has pushed his hands away from me several times in a row. I'd go, and I'd kinda hold it, and I'd take a deep breath while he was playing with the speech teacher, and he'd push my hand away, and I'd let go, and, then he wanted it. He
Mm,
wanted it because why? He knew his body would respond to it.
mm,
So, it's been full circle as to why I went on my journey, but how I was able to help that child, and now he no longer needs an AAC device for talking. He can use full
wow.
sentences, and he
Wow.
no longer self-injures. And that speech teacher was like, "I don't know what you were doing, but it worked."
Wow.
So
That's amazing.
that's my own personal story and how I've woven it into the job I'm doing now, and yet that's a prime example of these parents could be doing this if they just knew
Mm.
it existed. And all these parents who are paying for all these other therapies for speech therapy or physical therapy or OT, like a lot of them are missing this foundational piece.
Right. Wow. That's such a powerful story. And I feel you with that headache for 30 years. I suffered from migraines since I was little. Every week I would get migraine headaches with vomiting and they went for a little bit, but they came back and I cannot imagine 30 years straight of a headache. Like, wow. And then I was thinking about the pressure in the head because we just had a coach's call today, and that was something somebody else brought up. And they were doing the pretzel squat. And when I first started doing fascial maneuvers with pretzel squat, I would almost black out every time I did it. And so now just connecting the dots of, pretzel squat is actually moving the pressure up into the head.
Right. Hmm.
And because I wasn't sure, like, whoa, why am I having this response with this one? And yeah, just for anybody who, hasn't tried fascial maneuvers, because they look simple. And it's like, what do you mean? I just twist my knee like that and you can,
Like release the pressure in your head. Yes.
yeah. And then that changes, like the ripple effect of that changes so many things that makes your whole life amazing, like so much better with less challenges. And
And I
so I
I
love
even
that.
have one client who, totally twisted. We put one arm over and then the other side. And she's like, whenever I have the right hand and I'm turning a certain way, it activates her heartbeat so active that she then
Mm,
can't come back down from it. So like we've learned
mm,
with her, even though we've not figured out like the why behind that, we've just figured out, okay. we only do like left-sided stuff for her with
Mm-hmm.
her right now.
Mm.
She's not scared of it or anything. She just is like, no, it activates me a little too much.
Mm.
And so they are more powerful than you realize and safe at the same time. So that's the
Yeah.
beautiful part.
And I love that it also brings in the conversation that every body is different. So it's like we're not meant to all respond the same way, but to like get curious with our bodies and like,
Mhm.
maybe we won't understand the why right away. Like I didn't understand why I was blacking out almost when I was doing the pretzel squat, but now like the wisdom comes when we need it,
And
right?
that's something like we're so ingrained in our Western medicine that one of the programs we just finished a 12-week program with some parents, and I brought in just the basics of Eastern medicine and traditional Chinese medicine,
Mm,
and just the balance of heat and cold in the body and damp and dry in the body. But there's
mm,
also that balance of yang. Oops, sorry, I had that on silent of yang, too much yang energy, and yin. Sometimes you have too much yin energy and not enough yang. And so that's part of all of it.
it is.
Understanding that this exists in our kids as well.
Yes. Yeah. So important that conversation as well. I just was on a call yesterday with a Chinese medicine doctor and just talking about the same thing, like get to know our organs and how it stores extra excess emotion, like you were mentioning anger in the liver or grief in the lungs and how we can support our body and in really simple ways. So I love that. I wanted to ask you, was there a moment, I guess you already said it in the story, but maybe you have another one, a moment or experience where you realized that something needed to change and how we support
Mm.
teachers and students emotionally?
I think a specific memory moment in time, I'm not sure, but whenever I started working with my Eastern medicine doc, she was in Arizona, still in school actually, and we were just over the phone and by email. And simple things that I was putting into my body that was actually creating more stress. You
Mm,
know, single mom, 3-year-old and 3-month-old. So I went through a divorce too with very young children. And I'd stop and get, my treat to myself was like a coffee and an egg sandwich. And I'd drop off the kids, I'd go through the drive-through and I'd sit in my car and that would be like my thing. But I did not know that that special treat I was giving myself was actually activating more stress in the body. That coffee was activating the chemicals were causing more stress overload from, the chemicals sprayed on those specific coffee, and for me, the gluten and the dairy in the egg sandwich, like, it was causing more stress, and so then moving forward, whenever I was learning all that and I was starting to peel away the layers and I was seeing, "Holy cow, I've been doing things that I thought were good for myself this whole
mm,
time that were actually adding more stress." And I do have a specific memory because I had started to really clean up my environment after that point. And I
mm,
had moved away from one classroom and school building, I taught 3rd grade for 12 years, and I had moved away and gone into pre-K special ed. And so after 2 years, I went back to read to the 3rd grade classroom partner teacher that I used to have, and I was feeling really great. I walked into that room and I just felt anxiety come back. And I was like, wow, what is
mm,
this? By then I learned to be more observant, not like overreact. And she left. I kind of read to the classroom and I'm like, I'm getting angry for no reason. These kids can't possibly be making me angry. I've only been here, what, 20 minutes? So I kept reading and I look around and I see a scented Glade plug-in plugged in right next to the little 3rd grade boy who was squirrely,
mm,
agitated, kept blurting out, which is fine. I just kind of ignored it and, complimented it and encouraged him to calm down. Not a big deal. But I got done reading and I'm like, now I'm rageful.
mm.
And I'm like, what is happening? I have to get out of here. And it wasn't until I realized that I had taken all the chemical fragrances and toxins out of my body, and that reactivated. My body was like, why are you doing this again? And then I reflected back to whenever I was 16 and my boys' dad, we were high school sweethearts, got married and had kids, but he would pick me up on this date. And by the end of the day, I was falling asleep in the car. My body was wanting to leave. And he had what, 3 or 4 of those green
Oh,
trees
yeah,
hanging.
those little tree yeah, the pines. Yeah.
His, horrible cheap cologne, like, my
Yeah.
body was saying, "Get out of here, shut down, get away," and then the headache would be spiked, and I'd go in, and I'd fall asleep, and he'd go off with his friends because the date was over so early because Deidre had a headache,
Mm,
it's those moments in time where I realized I was a teacher in constant fight or flight through the pain and these other stressors I was doing to myself because I didn't know what I didn't know. And all the other teachers, let's say 90%, I don't know, I'm just throwing a number out there, like,
yeah.
been in districts for a long time. Most of the teachers are doing the same things to themselves. And then we have all these kids come in from being yelled at in the morning, not getting a healthy breakfast, eating crap in the morning that's shutting their bodies down, coming in smelling like weed because their parents are smoking it all around them. Like, and I have to ask them to put their coat and
Wow.
backpack outside because now it's activating my nervous system because it's
Wow.
so strong. Like they're coming in with their own stressors. And
Yeah.
yet we know that, we're taught that as teachers to be aware of that, but we don't know the extent
Mhm.
and we don't know what all we can do to really bring that down in our classroom and ourselves so that we're
Right.
less reactive and more responsive.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that answers the next question I have about, like, what's actually happening inside classrooms that we don't necessarily see, and the chemicals is definitely one thing, and it's just I have the same effect, like, especially when you've been without them for a long time, the
Mhm.
sensitivity of just, like, being around a Glade plug-in or something for a few seconds. So, is there anything else happening inside classrooms right now that people don't see?
Yes. So we all have these social emotional learning curriculums that we now teach instead of like teaching cursive and everything. There's a lot of
Okay.
things that are important that we've taken out of our academics and education because now we're spending so much time being parents because
Mm,
adults, including teachers and parents, right? All the adults, they skip over this whole section of what does this emotion feel like in my body? And
mm,
can I allow myself to be okay in this emotion? They
mm,
want to talk about their emotions or they want to have them do the 4-step apology. I'm sorry because, I see that it made you feel this way. Do you accept my apology? And next time I will do it this way. It's like, we go through all these different little strategies to help them manage these emotions. But do we allow them to understand that shame is okay to feel? It's not a bad thing. Guilt
mm,
is okay to feel. It's not a bad thing. And whenever I would call parents because of a situation, I'd always start off with everything's fine. Kids need to have experiences so they can make mistakes, so they can learn to feel that made me feel guilty. What does guilt feel like? I didn't
mm,
like what it felt like, but I can love that it's teaching me something. So the next time I'm tempted to
mm.
do something, I can think, do I want to feel that guilt again or do I not want to feel that guilt again? What choice do I want to make? So it's like really explaining to the parents, like, I'm not calling for you to go home and reprimand them.
Yeah.
I'm calling you so we can figure out a way to support him in understanding, what she
Mm.
has done,
Yeah, it's
and felt.
yeah, it's such a learning, like you said, for both the kids and the parents. It's like learning together and being willing to learn from our children even,
Mhm.
because this hasn't been taught. I mean, this let's hope that this gets into all of the education across the whole planet because I wish I had this in school. And adults right now are learning, like, what does it mean? That's actually the whole work of being human is sitting with our emotion and letting it move through us. This is how we transmute the lower density emotions that are playing out on a very grand scale right now in our world through wars and through
And you said that
injustices.
you said that beautifully. It's a lower density emotion. It is not a bad emotion. And we're not here to make you feel bad that you are angry. We're
Exactly.
like teachers need to understand, yeah, we can provide them safe spaces, you know, because we literally have kids that need to like go punch a wall. And what are we helping them process through understanding where is that anger coming from? Some people
Uh-huh.
are scared of their anger. Like it
Uh-huh.
scares them. And then they realize it's just anger that they've taken on from their parents. It's not even theirs. But I mean, that's a big concept and not all parents are comfortable with that concept, right? So it's is it really the public schools position, job to be the ones to be teaching this? I mean,
Uh-huh.
really, no. I mean, it shouldn't be us teachers and the school system teaching this. This should really be the parents wanting to heal themselves and wanting to heal the generational, I don't want to say curse, but that's what it's called a
It
lot.
is. Yeah,
The
it is.
generational energy that keeps getting attracted over and over again
Oh,
because
through the
of,
generations and
and
just
it's
passed
because of
on.
the belief systems and the stories we tell ourselves. Like really letting kids, tell their story that they think and then giving them questions to help them identify, is that really true? Or am I making this story up about this other kid?
Uh-huh.
Am I making the story up about my mom? Or what is really
Mhm.
true about my mom?
Oh, I'm getting chills. Like, this is such important work. And it's so true. Like, is this the responsibility of the educators in schools? I think it's and I think just where we're at in society right now, where it's like we're going into it's been challenging and it's going to be challenging, and to have support in the education systems, but also for like you said, the parents also taking the responsibility,
Yeah.
because a lot of times kids are spending a lot of their time in classrooms, and so this work is just so important. And yeah, I'm
Parents
getting
really don't
chills.
understand. Like, if I'm a third grade teacher and I have that kid 6 plus hours a day for how many weeks or how many days a year, 180 days, like,
Yeah.
we spend a lot of time with their kids. And do they even really know us? Do they know our beliefs? Do they know our
Mhm.
values? And they're just
Mhm.
trusting it.
Mhm.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's so true. I just have like images of like my first grade teacher and like some deep wounding that I had based off of her, communication style. And
Mhm.
it's so true about, yeah, really understanding and then being able to value like my classroom, my teacher does this. My teacher has, this knowledge. Like, what a value. And to be sharing that is, I mean, I'm honored to be sharing your story and the work you're doing, and I hope anybody watching this was inspired. And I'll ask you later at the end what your ultimate goal is, but I have a few more questions. I just wrote a couple of them down over here. So what happens to children when teachers themselves are overwhelmed and
Mhm.
unsupported going into now that classroom conversation?
Yeah, they shut down. I mean, they feel that energy. They feel their parents' energy and they feel that teacher's energy. And when that teacher is overwhelmed and stressed out and she's dysregulated in a fight or flight kind of state,
Mhm.
those kids feel it. That energy is transmuted. Their little antennas are taking that in. And and yet each one is so individualistic. Like we have the internalizers and then we have the externalizers. And really they're
Oh,
just, some of them are like, how can they're not thinking this, right? They're not to that point of awareness where they're thinking this, but their body is
yes.
like, can I tune enough to help ground her? Or
Mhm.
am I going to match her frequency? And so
Mhm.
that's where, I've had those classrooms where it's 5 behaviors that are all like this. And that was before I knew how to regulate myself. And so,
Wow.
that would get, maybe I was the regulated one walking in that morning. Well, semi-regulated. If you're in chronic pain, you're never regulated. But now I'm matching their frequency. So it goes both ways.
Yeah.
There was one year, my prep time to get any work done or go to the bathroom or make phone calls was when the kids went to PE or music or art. And I had this handful of boys that were just really intense. And so I finally just started going to those specials classes with them, taking my work with me because I could help with a look or with a comment, I could help them manage their impulsivity. And then we could leave that special without having to decompress from several flare ups.
Mm,
But that's like most teachers are not going to do that. That's my prep time. That's my personal time during the day to have a little recess from each other, right?
wow. Yeah.
No, the inner we need to learn that we are energy electrical bodies before we are mechanical, before we are chemical. And if we, as an education system, do not start to look at that and we don't start to honor that system, then we're not going to be able to turn this around. It's eventually the braking system is coming now. We don't have enough
Yes.
teachers. It's not a teacher shortage. There's plenty of teachers out there. It's a
Yes.
teacher exodus. Teachers are leaving, nurses
Yeah.
are leaving because our nervous systems, they're asking our nervous systems to regulate that much input electrically from those kids and vice versa. And our nervous systems are not able to.
Yeah.
People
It's
ask,
not
what do
fair.
teachers do all summer? I'm like, teachers work on regulating their nervous system from the whole
Mm,
school year before they have to do
mm,
it again. That's what they're doing all summer. And maybe not in every school, like maybe there's private schools that are not like this, but I'm more
mm,
inner city, low income public school.
mm.
And it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for being that voice for the teachers and reframing that it's not a teacher shortage. Like there's so many teachers that love being with children and educating and they're just not being supported to for that capacity that is required at this point in time. And I just have this slide that came up I was working on the other day for a video, and it's worth mentioning that like you were saying with children and the bodies, like we're all antennas and we all absorb everything going around us, whether we're children, whether we're adults. Children are just more sensitive because they haven't had so much armor built up. But
Yep.
particularly from 0 to 7, that's our physical stage of development. And that's where we're absorbing the world through our body, literally from 0 to 7, which is the grade you're working with. And then
Mhm.
from 7 to 14 is the emotional body. And we're starting to get awareness of the emotions. And so, what are we learning from our parents, from our teachers with that? And then from 14 to 21, that's when the mind develops with the stories that we're being told about. So I follow the Gene Keys and they talk about how it's not until we're 21 that we fully are birthed into this world, because those 3 years cycles of 7 is when all of that programming is happening. So yeah, this is such important work and such an important conversation. What do schools, what you see, what do they typically invest in that doesn't actually address this root issue?
Yeah, this is something I'm moving through myself right now because my business partner Jenna, she's a doctor of physical therapy and worked in the public school setting. And she has a whole curriculum that administrators can hire her and she'll present it to the staff. And it's called Empowered Educators. Like we're empowering educators to understand all of these concepts and then what it feels like in their body to have a regulated system and yada yada, all of that. For me, I'm well experienced now. My personal training comes from me searching out PTs, OTs, speech therapists here in the human garage community and
Mm,
saying, I have a little boy that's doing this and I see this behavior. Like, how, how do you see it? And what can I do within the public school setting as a teacher that sees him so many minutes a day? You know, so I'm getting my advice from external sources because the school districts don't have the answer.
mhm,
So, for example, I went to my admin, they always ask us every year, what do you want your professional development on? And I said, proprioception, interoception, peripheral work, vestibular work, like give me like primitive reflex type stuff to work on. Well, that's medical OTPT. We can't do that here. That's not true. That's just a
Huh.
belief that you guys have created. Technically, PE teachers could do this starting in kindergarten and first grade. So why can't we do it in third, fourth, fifth? But I need to understand it more. And proprioception is the concept of feeling safe in your body to where you can move in space and time. So a kid learning to jump off of a step, they need to know that they can jump up and out, right?
Mm.
Or we have a lot of 5-year-olds that are still in pull-ups. And it's because, which, doesn't have to be a horrible thing the way I said it. But I mean, in reality, like, 5-year-olds are going to kindergarten, like, what's going on? And we're not looking at the body's interoception, that internal sensation. Are their nervous system regulated enough to where they can feel these internal sensations and think, I gotta go potty. Like I feel safe enough to feel that sensation. But no, they're like
Mm.
taking on all of these other sensations, and that sensory input output is so strong. Like, give us teachers something to do with that. Like,
Mhm.
how can we help them work through that? And then lastly, it's the ability to make sure that we know that these kids feel safe in their body. And it's through those areas peripherally. If they're watching a screen all day, we have kids walking in being held and they're watching their dad's phone. I mean, they're not even walking into the school building looking around. And so if
Wow.
we know with vestibular work, like if we don't have this peripheral and we're not able to rotate, then we're not going to feel as safe in the body.
Wow.
So how can we get these younger kids, actually all of them, but that's my area, to feel safe enough in their body? And they'll talk to us about the limbic brain, like the lizard brain, the survival start of the brain. And we want to get the kids from the midbrain to the prefrontal cortex, where there's some little
Mm.
bit of reasoning going on there. So goes from survival, brainstem, to emotional. Okay, now we can acknowledge that I'm feeling angry. Hey, you took my toy. That makes me feel angry. That made me mad, right? Like that, to upfront reasoning saying, I see that you want my toy. How about, but here's one just like it, but I still need mine, that reasoning part.
Mm.
And so they give us these trainings about how to move them from one area of the brain, like let's get them out of survival to emotional, from emotional to reasoning. But then they don't tell us how.
Mm. Wow.
They don't give us any
Okay,
tools
that's a big
how.
gap.
Well, like, I'm tired of being told about the lizard brain survival. Like, I'm tired of it.
Wow.
Yes, it's a pyramid model. I get it. I could get up and if I can get up and present the professional development myself
Mm.
without any warning, just give me the slideshow, then it's not much of a professional development for me after 24 years.
Wow.
But I'm
Wow.
still struggling with these kids who you're putting in a regular classroom who are now self-injuring, not only themselves, but are going at the other kids. And granted, I work in a school district where every kid in my building is risk. They were screened and
Wow.
they met the qualifications as an at-risk child. They may or may not need special ed intervention, but they're at risk in 2 or more areas. And so
Wow.
we're not working with, you know, kids who are developing on the scale of, what the expectation is, right? So that's my thing. And so then it takes it back to, let's look at the fascia. Let's look at the nervous system, because we can't get to those areas of the brain until the body is calmed down. And we can't calm the body down until you give us the opportunity to learn about the systems of the body that weren't really taught in education. There
Right.
was no education in that in my college career, right?
Wow.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, basically, what are schools investing in that isn't actually addressing the root issue? It's very much exactly what you said, and I just feel so. One of the co-founders of Flow Network, she passed away 3 years ago, and she was an educator, and that's why I said at the beginning, like the root of this work coming up. I just feel her so strongly right now because she was one of those early teachers who walked away because she could see all of the challenges, and she would try to do her thing. She would bring her guitar into the classroom and sing and bring in music, and the powers to be within the school was like, no, you can't. What are you doing? You can't do that. And she just wasn't able to be herself basically and bring her gifts into the school, and
We
she
have
she
we have
left.
pacing charts. We got to keep moving.
Yeah.
We can't
Yeah.
wait to just wait for the kid to actually figure it out. We just got to say,
Yeah.
well, we exposed him to it. We're moving on.
Yeah. So sad. Okay, beautiful. So, what have you seen? Now, I want to talk about the program itself, the program that you and Jenna have
Yeah.
developed. So, how does this program actually support teachers differently? You've obviously touched on it, but let's lay it
Yes.
out.
So the program that we're launching now, I mean, Jenna has her Empowered Educators program that districts can hire her for. Even in the state of Ohio, which is where she's located, she's got them, CEUs or CPDUs for professional development credit. But anybody's going to be able to come and buy this program from Jenna and go and take it into private schools, homeschools, public schools if they want. And it's going to lay out, yes, we have a nervous system. Yes, those are the three areas of the brain. But hey, how does this correlate to us? Let's stop and do totally twisted and like feel it in our body. And then she goes on to talk about what proprioception, interoception, and that vestibular peripheral work really, how it affects the kids.
Mm,
And then she has the teachers get up and do a little bit of balance work, like neurology work,
mm,
so that they can see, oh, wow, this is what it feels like if you're off, if you just do one side, oh, this is what it feels like when you're off balance. Or, I had third graders that fluency is tracked heavily once they start to read, like their ability
mm,
to read how many words in a minute. And for some kids, like they literally aren't able to track a pencil with their eye. It's just
wow.
that's tough for them. That's part of that vestibular
Mm,
work. And with the way our society is, it's that
mm,
skill is getting worse. So she gets the teachers up and moving to
mm,
feel all of this stuff as she integrates the background knowledge of, yes, you've heard this, but have you understood it in this way? And
mm.
that's what I love about Jenna's program. And
Amazing.
from that, she starts to work on mindset because we teachers can get pretty negative pretty fast because we have a lot going against us and it's very easy for us to get into that victim mindset.
Mm,
And if there's poor leadership in any way, it's even easier to do that.
yeah.
So and bottom line, we don't there's been years I don't feel safe in my classroom,
Mm,
and I've taught third grade and younger. So if that tells you anything.
wow. Wow.
So we can easily get in that victim mindset. So like really shifting the mindset of the educators, what we have power over, what
Mm,
control in our own world. Um, and we start small with that. It's not like we're trying, that toxic positivity. It's not like that kind of mindset work. It's like,
beauty.
what words are you saying that's making your body tense up? Like,
Mm,
let's actually try out, I hate myself. Ooh, where's the tension? I love myself.
mm.
Oh, there's more flow, right? Like it's that kind of mindset work. So it's not the, oh, you
Toxic
should be,
positivity.
you
Hmm.
should be more, you have a fixed mindset. You need an open mindset. No, it's not like that kind of
Yeah.
work.
Beautiful.
And then once the teachers see it in their own life, then they ask her back to be like, how can I do this in my classroom at my kids' age level? So we don't even
Mm,
start talking about the kids. We're just talking about the educators in that first,
mm,
professional development. And then she has built her program from there, bringing it back in. The other part of that program for the teachers and districts is bringing in the proprioception, interoception, peripheral work at the primitive reflex level. So a lot of these kids, oh, my kid never even had to, he skipped crawling. He went straight to walking. And that's like, that like doctors will tell parents, oh, you got a smart kid. He didn't even need to crawl. And we're like, no, like now this is the child that can't sit still, that
mm,
PhD that,
mm,
he can't focus on one thing at one time. And you have to repeat yourself 10 times for him to let it soak
mm.
in because he doesn't have that left brain, right brain ability to cross midline counter rotation type of thing because
Wow.
he skipped crawling.
Wow.
So primitive reflexes are things like the startle reflex. You'd be surprised, by age 2 to 4 months, the startle reflex should start to integrate and not be active anymore because the
Mm,
nervous system is developing better, right?
mm,
Kids are they're overly sensitive. They have that neuro divergent overstimulation too easily. We have kids wearing headphones on the bus now because it's too loud, that kind of.
Right.
Well, that's because their startle reflex was probably never fully integrated. So it's
Wow.
bringing in exercises to help make sure all of those are integrated. And there's about 7 or 8 of them.
Wow, that's amazing. What, just out of curiosity, what causes a child to go to skip the crawling and go right into the walking?
This is where Jenna would be the better to interview
Okay,
and
fair enough.
everything. But
But
but for me, I think a part of this was like maybe my startle moral reflex integrated as a child, but then some traumatic injury. I grew
mm,
up on a farm, where we had couple accidents and different things like that. Like something happened to
mm,
reactivate it, to bring it back. The nervous system could not hold the capacity to keep me regulated. So it brought back this reflex that is a primitive way of keeping me in a survival state.
mm,
That's like the best way to play on words with it. And so I would go, like, as an adult, I would go and they would like test my knee reflex and test my arm reflex. My foot would shoot up there so fast as soon as that little triangle hammer hit my knee. And they're like, "Oh, you're hyper reflexive." And I was like, "What does that mean? Does it have anything to do
mm,
with the headache?" "Oh, no, you're
mm,
just hyper reflexive." But what does that
mm,
mean? And then,
mm,
if your doctor is not thinking about how they can answer your question and, "Oh, it's just that's just how it is," then we need to rethink, if we've got the right doctor for us.
mm,
Because that right there is an example of an adult whose startle reflex is still active. So, chronic pain, right? I was in fight or flight. So, my startle reflex was reactivated. So, if I could have
mm,
even had these primitive reflex exercises that you can easily do in your classroom or in PE class, physical education class, or anywhere, like it's
mm,
not. It's not like some modality that, is deeply that has a lot of scary stuff in it. No, like I need to reach over here and set the book down over here.
huh,
That it could be something as simple as that, but these kids need
mm, mm.
did that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious if you have a story of a teacher or a classroom situation that was transformed through this work. I mean, you shared one earlier with the
Yeah,
fascial maneuvers and the knee
a little boy. I would
torque, little
say,
boy.
the gallant reflex it has to do, again, this is Jenna's expertise. And like I can see things and be like, I need to go do that exercise because that'll help that area. But the gallant
Mm,
reflex has to do with the sacrum and the hips. And so if you're sitting on your bum cheeks and these are your legs, can you lift your leg up and do the L sit movement? It's like the booty scoot, right?
okay.
See what
Scooching
I'm
your
saying?
bum forward on the
Yeah.
chair?
That's
Okay.
a perfect example. The 3 to 5-year-olds that are still in diapers cannot do that. They
Mm,
can't move their hips in this way that the shifting allows the hips to shift. They're like
wow.
locked up down there. So if you're
Mm,
locked up in your sacrum and you're still in pull-ups, 3, 4, and 5, then you're probably not feeling all the sensations down there. That's affecting that
mm,
interoception,
mm,
right? So imagine like how the world would open up for this kid if they could feel more independent, being able to just go to the bathroom,
mm.
wash their hands, and come
It's
back and
so funny. The synchronicity, I was watching a podcast, the Human Garage Experience podcast last night. Can't remember the name of the actor but they started talking about women and birth and then children and how they can actually be potty trained. And now I can't remember the age, maybe you do, but they can be potty trained at like such a young age.
yeah, I've seen this too.
Yeah.
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 But then that would take a very regulated mother
Mm,
to be able. I mean, the reason why we use all the conveniences like diapers and fast food and processed packaged, milk and Go-Gurts, like whatever convenience you tend to gravitate to. Why do we do that? Because our nervous system needs that convenience now because the concept of having to take care of that on
mm,
a different level is too overwhelming for parents. So if we can
Yeah.
really regulate the parents, think about all these conveniences that are really a first world problem.
Mm-hmm.
Ice is a first world problem that we've just been trained to use. It's like the worst thing you can give your system because it cools down your digestive fire. And
Yeah.
now your spleen and your stomach have to work harder and it's taking your energy away.
Yeah.
This is simple. Why are we giving any ice to any child ever? Or
Mm-hmm.
the convenience of, oh, I trained my baby to take a cold bottle. I did that.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
did that convenience because I was a single mom. Like, anything to make my life easier, I was gonna do. I didn't know it was hurting his digestive fire,
Right.
which is 70% of his immune system.
Mm.
All I needed to do was make sure I warmed it back up, warmed.
Yeah. This is such a larger conversation about where society has gone in terms of convenience and how fast we've moved, like as a society, that we've needed these conveniences to be able to just cope in our day-to-day life. Like, I feel it's the new world that we're moving towards is like so much of slowing down, like the rebellion of slowing down, but how hard that is in this world, especially with AI and tech, and everything is just moving us faster and faster. And at some point we have, yeah, go ahead.
So the program we're actually getting ready to launch is for parents. And it helps, I mean, as much as parents don't wanna be told, "Slow down."
Yeah.
So I'm making sure that's not in our marketing. We're
Mm,
switching it, and the first several lessons are just about observing. Like,
beautiful.
let's just breathe and observe when your body is getting activated. Let's breathe and observe doing, like, the fascial coffee. I took the word coffee out because I don't want parents to, like,
More coffee.
but for me, it's called fascial feedback. Like,
Mm,
do fascial coffee as a fascial maneuver, fascial feedback. Like, if you slow down and feel it, like, you're gonna be able to feel some
I love
to
that.
observe some sensations. And so we just start with parents observing their own body, and then
So
and
good.
twisted and some lymphatic taps. And from there, they're like, "Oh, I slept better last night. Oh, I woke up a little bit more alert. Oh, it's at the end of the day, work day, and I have energy for my child. Oh, let's watch this 3-minute video and do
Mm,
this special work on you," or whatever. So we're just starting off in this program that we're launching called Vessel Foundation, and it's h- it's like 7 videos of just 3 to 5 minutes long of kind of helping the parents become more aware. And again, they're not gonna like that that language, but it's like within doing that, we're giving them a 3 to 5 minute exercise through the fascial maneuvers that's going to bring their body out of stress, which then allows them to be more aware and observe because they need to learn to observe their own body
mm,
before we can ask them to observe their child's body.
mm-hmm.
So we
Yeah,
have,
and
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and in doing that, they're being a role model for their children to be like, just through osmosis, learning to be aware.
And I
And
And I
go ahead.
put that
Yeah.
in the videos, like, I know you're eager to start hands-on fascial maneuvers on your kids and model it to them first. Let them see how it's changing your energy, let them feel it, and then allow them to see that it's safe. Like, "Mommy's he keeps doing this. It must be safe." And that, when we get a couple more weeks into it or a couple more days into it, like, you can invite your child to come in and do it, but if they say no, let it be okay.
Yes. Yes, I love that. Yeah, just I mean, that's what I learned watching my parents do exercises and thought, "Oh, that looks like a good idea." And yeah, I love that. And I was just thinking too about, no one wants to hear slow down. Like, how do you even start that? And how do you even start to become aware? And I'm a big fan of the Gene Keys, and they have this. His biggest thing is pausing. Just make micro moments to pause in your day, even if it's like to breathe. Or I love the fascia, changing it to fascia feedback. If anybody doesn't know, like Google fascia coffee. It's called fascia coffee and Human Garage, but it's such a simple thing. It literally takes a minute and it energizes you and again brings awareness into the body, which is where we all need to be. So I love that you called it fascial feedback.
Yeah.
And yeah, just inviting pause it And he actually has a free app called the Triple Flame, and it will just you'll get like a message on your phone like, hey, have you time to pause? And you literally just can pause for 1 minute. And I think that's like the most simplest thing we can all do to invite more awareness.
It really is, and eventually, I got to a place where I slow down and I get more done. This
Mm-hmm.
is nice. I slow down and
Mm-hmm.
I have more fun because when you slow down, you allow the flow state to
Exactly.
be activated, where if you're constantly rushing and pushing through like I did, you're constantly getting blocked. Like Jenna was trying to do something with technology the other day. I was like, "You need a day and a half. Take the rest of the day today,
Yeah.
tomorrow, and, like, stop trying so hard." And
Mm-hmm.
the day after she called me and, "Look at all this baking I did. My kids are so happy. They have all," she was FaceTiming me all the baked goods, and
Yeah.
then the next day she went back to it and it flowed.
Yeah. It's so true.
But we need community. We need women to help us say, "You're trying too hard."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
legit.
Yeah.
So in this program, so that's like the first 11 videos is just like talking about toxins, environment, home chemicals, what is fascia, hydration, the importance of minerals. It's very, very small. We're not overwhelming people with it, but we're getting those topics brought up to the awareness. And then we're getting into some movement practice for the adults. And then the hands on fascial maneuvers for the kids. And then we're really, really making sure parents are
Mm.
like, if you're rushed and you just want to get in the hands-on with your kids and your energy is rushed, it's not going to work.
No.
Like you need to take those 3 to
Yeah.
5 minutes and do at least a totally twisted before you touch your kids.
Yes, totally. The kids are gonna be like, ah.
Yeah. And what we found is a lot of these parents, I mean, it's such a big range. It's a very large spectrum of why parents need this work, whether their kid has cerebral palsy or their kid has just behavior issues or they're nonverbal, they're 20 years old and still banging their head,
Mm,
autistically, or they're a newborn that is colicky. It's a huge, but what they are realizing is whenever they work on themselves first and then start to do the hands-on on their kids, the kids will start to ask for it more and the
mhm,
kids become more regulated and the restriction. So a lot of people have gone off and done these primitive reflexes and paid for therapies and taken their kids to PTs, OTs twice a week, and then it doesn't last. And the reason why doesn't it last? I'm doing all these things right. Maybe I've done the detoxes and cleaned our environment and everything. Yeah, but have you brought your kid's body the restrictions? Have you
mm,
opened them up and brought them down? So that's the hands on for the fascial maneuvers. That's like a step that parents are missing. I wish I would have had it for my oldest kid,
mm,
you know? And then we bring in explaining the primitive reflexes. We give them the worksheets, give them how to test which ones are still
mm.
active and which ones have integrated. And then we give them the exercises to do to integrate those primitive reflexes. So,
Wow.
right now, that's the whole kit and caboodle. I'd love to add on some packages where we talk about Eastern medicine a little bit and we talk about like the myofascial. We've had 3 people in the last couple weeks where they're like, mouth breathing. How can I help my kid stop mouth breathing?
Hmm.
So, we're going to add in some of that because I've had to do a lot of that work for myself
Mm.
because of all the TMJ pressure I had. So, yeah, we're excited
Wow.
about it.
Wow, it sounds extremely powerful. I would imagine all schools would benefit from this. This Let's ask, how many teachers and schools do you think could benefit from this?
Man, I mean, I'm in one school building in one district of 24 buildings in one city in one state, and
Yeah.
every single teacher could benefit from this. There's
Yeah.
not one teacher that doesn't
Sounds like it.
need it, and
Especially like you said, it's community. We need to understand the power and the importance of community in these times where things are pretty chaotic with all the systems coming down.
and we're not even opening up the avenue of our outer world is reflective of our inner world.
Yes. Yes.
We're not even getting into that yet because people, I mean, that's really dicey to just say to a person that
Yes.
don't understand it.
Yeah.
So a lot of the reason why classroom behaviors are the way they are is because of the internal emotional state of the teacher.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah. Let's build a vision. What would it look like if program exactly and programs like it reached thousands of schools? How would
Mm.
that change the next generation of our children?
I believe that if teachers were more regulated, parents would see, wow, something's really changed in my kid this year, and it's because of the teacher.
Mm,
Hey, what did you do? Right? Like, let's get the parents like, well, how did you get him to do that? Well, how did you get him to go potty? Or, well, how did you get him to, sit and write his name? Well, how did you get him to do that? And that's when that open door of communication is like, well, I had to do this with myself first, and then this is how I changed my classroom management, and then this is how I'm seeing it affect my kids. Where did you learn that? Okay, fascial maneuvers. Oh, fascia. What's fascia? Oh, nervous system. Areas of the brain. It'll tell me more. I would love to see it just open up a better communication between teachers and parents.
mm,
I think that. I mean, we could talk about there's a lot of things that need to happen, like smaller class sizes. This inclusionary model is great unless you're putting kids that are like literally life skill level kiddos in regular ed, which is happening a lot.
hmm,
And so there's a lot of things that need to happen alongside this to really see a massive shift in our public school education. But if we're talking all of those things are taken care of, it's a
mhm,
decent class size, kids are properly placed in their least restrictive environment, you're going to see way more flow,
mm,
way more laughter, and way less anxiety. We have
mm,
way too many kids that are anxious and depressed. Please, can we stop overusing the word anxiety and stop overusing the word bullying because
mm,
they both exist. They're real things, and bullying is a real situation that needs to be taken seriously. And the mindset work that can go in with this, because we have parents using the term bullying when it's not appropriate.
hmm,
Like, for example, 3-year-olds. 3-year-olds have no concept of bullying, but
hmm,
parents are saying, well, so and so's bullying my kid. So and so's not even playing with your kid. We watch it every day. You're creating this, right? Like so
wow,
it's like really allowing the shift of can we all just regulate our nervous systems
mm,
so we're not so proactively defensive that
mhm,
somebody else is making me have to be in the victim mindset. Like
yes.
it's a false there's so much to it. I would love to sit here and dream with you.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you as well. And we have models on Flow Network that speak to the like 5 levels of flow. And the victim is like your way and the number one, just, projecting our stuff on other
Mhm.
ones and blaming and versus like all
Yeah.
owning how we all feel. And that starts with awareness, like you said.
Yeah. Projections are so much heavier than just reflections. And that's
Oh,
where that
yes.
mindset piece can really come into our language. And I would love to see in the perfect world, I would love to see this work intrigue the parents enough to where the parents become interested and they step into it. That's what I would love to see.
Yeah, I would love to see that too, and funding support. And on that note, what would support from the right partners make possible right now for the work that you're doing?
In the most polite and loving way, like we need our administrators to be good leaders. And we need
Mm,
our administrators to step into this work first. Because if you're being supervised and led and observed and evaluated by an administrator that is not regulated or is defensive or are trying to solve problems by micromanaging, or, I could throw out a million different situations, then any kind of funding isn't going to change anything. Right. So starting with the administrators the school boards, the PTO, the parent teacher organizations, I think would be a great place. And getting them to feel it, getting them to witness how this can change their internal state of awareness,
Mm,
their
yes.
ability to cope or respond over react, or their ability to observe what is tensing them, or their ability to be like, whenever I'm around those people, I don't like myself.
Mm,
Like just bringing some awareness. So I feel like it's less about funding. There's always money, even if there's a budget. Like we're in the middle of a budget cut right now in my district, and I'm like, there's always funding. It's getting the people who make the decisions about what's coming into the school district, getting them to become aware that this can be more powerful than just another social emotional learning curriculum.
mm,
It's not even that. And I started to go down that route 2 years ago was, create my own children's books and my own little SEL because we're missing some steps and stuff like that in the classroom. And, I just started doing it myself. Like I turned some
mm.
fashion maneuvers into like little, let's open our brain. Oh, ear pulls. Let's turn on our listening ears. And you'll be
Cool.
surprised, just those two right there, how much yawning I can get out of the kids before I sit
Hmm.
to read the book.
Wow, how powerful.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So
So if someone is watching this conversation and they're moved by what you're doing, whether they're a parent, an administrator, a teacher who has access to resources or access to have conversations with change
mhm.
makers, what would you want them to know?
You can find Jenna and I over at rootedwellnessstudio.com. Jenna is a doctor of physical therapy, and I'm 24 years master's in education, special ed, all that. And so we have partnered over there on her website, Rooted Wellness Studio, to offer these programs both to teachers and to parents. And that's probably the best place to find us. We're on Instagram, DEE_Freer, FREER is mine, but we do have Vessel words, movement, breath, because we work in the words, the language, the movement, simple,
Hmm.
simple, easy, and breath, because breath helps us to slow down and pause, like you were saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we do have an Instagram page. Right now, those are the places that are best to find us because we're kind of consolidating. We're taking our two and we're combining one. So
Beautiful. I love it. Yeah, and maybe just even for people who don't know Human Garage or Fascial Maneuvers, like go on to YouTube Human Garage and Fascial Maneuvers, and there's tons of free videos, but you can do a 28-day reset or 7-day reset and just feel them for yourself if you're intrigued by this conversation and want to experience it because it's all about the experience, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah, you can find me in the app. If you join the Human Garage app, I'll be in there as well.
perfect. Is there any final things you want to share after our conversation today?
Just, be curious, be open minded. Don't think this is, you know, don't feel like as a mom that this is all that life has to offer. Being a mom can be easier. Being a mom can be in a flow state. Being a mom, you don't
Mm,
have to do it all. You can you can partner and find your support, find your community, and it doesn't have to take your life away from you. Like that
mm,
was number one for us was keeping it simple. So just follow your heart. Start listening because maybe the vessel program isn't for you, but maybe there's something local that is. Like
mm.
really slow down, pause, and listen, and you'll be guided, you'll be guided to the right place. And thank you, Sarah, for this opportunity. I love talking about it, as you could tell. So
Yeah, well,
it's my passion.
yeah, I love that there's people like you that, have the motivation and the passion to innovate something. And I'm sure you faced a lot of challenges bringing something new into the world. And I know what that takes. So it's my honor to just bring out this conversation and share it in whatever way. And for anybody watching, I hope that you feel inspiration for the future because the systems are changing. We're in a time of great change where what hasn't does not working anymore is quickly coming down. And so having leaders like yourself, Deidre and Jenna, and a lot of the people in the Human Garage community that are, stepping up to create the new and before we start something new, we do have to let go of the old ways, and that can be challenging. So
Yeah. Because these
Yeah.
kids that we have now, they're different. They're
Yeah.
feeling more. They are in their
Yes.
feeling world more. And we
Yes.
grew up being taught not to feel or, but, get up, brush your knees off, and let's keep going,
Yeah.
or we got to get this done. And these kids are not going to be able to do that. We don't have to baby them.
No.
We just have to understand that they need time to process and feel
Right.
so that they can move on without the
Yes.
compression and the pressure building up.
Yeah. So well said. I'm glad you brought that in because yes, the children are coming in differently, much more sensitive. And if we can bring environments that really nurture them, then they're gonna do amazing things in this world as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Deidre. So nice connecting with you, and I'm sure we'll be talking again.
All right. Sounds
Okay.
good.